Hello and welcome to the Gonzales Mitchell Show. I'm Clay Mitchell,
And I'm Patrick Gonzales.
and today we're going to speak with Sharon Blugis, who is the Deputy Director and founder of Reproductive Justice Maryland and Chair of the Reproductive Freedom Ballot Initiative. We're going to find out a little better background, what our organization's mission is, and some of the issues that they're trying to address. And with that, how are you doing, Sharon?
I am doing well. And Clayton, you and I go way back to the Frencho days, and that's where we
Yes.
met. And when I was the campaign manager, this was, of course, when he was serving as the comptroller, and you had to keep that strict firewall between campaign side and that. And so before things really got running into the gubernatorial primary, I kind of took care of the campaign side and then moved over to the comptroller side. So not only did I get to know Clayton, but I got to know many people across the state that I'm still working with today, as a matter of fact. So, those contacts help.
I saw you at a Taste of the Eastern Shore, and that's where Bunky Luffman, Bob Zimbroff, and I came up with our Scrapple Trail Facebook page. But that's
I
another
forgot
story.
about that.
That's another story.
Yeah, that's quite that. Is that still going, by the way?
Yes, it is.
I'm a member.
30,000 members strong.
That is unreal.
It is.
That is unreal. I tell you, you never know when something's going to take off like that. That's astounding. Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
So Sharon, how did you become involved with this organization?
So we celebrated our 1-year anniversary this past May 1. And I founded this along with some other founding board members last April or so. It was right after, just before the 2023 session had ended. And there was a very long-standing reproductive advocacy group, Pro-Choice Maryland, that had been in the state for 31 years. And through pandemic and through a series of kind of some bad leadership, to be honest, it just kind of just stopped being able to do work. And I knew that with this amendment that we now have on our ballot, question 1, I knew that we were going to need an organization that would have boots on the ground to be able to do the coordination and the organizing and the rallying around that. So I said, we need a new organization in Maryland that we can stand up in time for this. Not only have we stood it up, we have a full board of 13 members. We have an amazing executive director, Jakia Johnson, a young woman that has just completely taken this in an amazing direction with her vision and her marketing skills and all of that. And we are just killing it, to be honest. We are kind of the repro group in the state now. Not to say that we do something very different than Planned Parenthood. They do providers and patients, and we're strictly advocacy, access, education, accountability, stuff like that. We don't do anything with providers or patients. It's all about education and working with the legislature during session to make sure that we advocate for bills and or introduce bills that we need. We just got approved for our C4. We have our C3, of course. Our C4 allows us to do that lobbying, and your C3 allows you to do about 10% of lobbying or so you can get away with a little bit. But your C4 allows you to do what you need to do, make endorsements and stuff like that, and do the ballot work. Ballot initiatives are kind of different than other things, so you have to be kind of careful with those too. So we literally just got our approval this week for our C4. So
congratulations.
And I'm literally drafting a letter to the IRS to ask for our determination letter as we speak. So it's very exciting to get that done. So we are a statewide organization, and we basically founded for the purpose of this question 1, and then we also have some other questions. And I think I may have interrupted you, Clayton.
No, and for those who don't know, what is question 1?
So I'm going to read you the actual language, and I'm going to talk about what it isn't saying more than what it's saying, because there's some groups who love to put all of this inflammatory stuff and all this awful stuff that this bill will do, that this ballot will do. And it's literally one sentence. It's just one sentence. Here it is. The proposed amendment confirms an individual's fundamental right to reproductive freedom, including but not limited to the ability to make and effectuate decisions to prevent, continue, or end the individual's pregnancy, and provides the state may not directly or indirectly deny, burden, or abridge that right unless justified by compelling state interests achieved by the least restrictive means. And the least restrictive meaning on the person's, personal liberties and stuff. And that's it. So did you read anything in there about 12-year-olds having gender affirming surgery? That would be a no. You did not hear that. Yeah. Did you hear anything that, people will be getting abortion up to their 9th month and, because they want to go on vacation? Did not read that. Doesn't happen, by the way. That doesn't happen. Yeah.
I think
Trump loves to talk about that. Yeah.
The narrative with that, some of the fears with that. Could you talk a little bit about assuaging any of those fears?
Yeah. So what's so interesting is that with the reversal of Roe v. Wade, this is something that kind of like the dog caught its tail for the GOP, of course. This was their big money raiser and their big get out the vote. Oh, abortion, abortion. And then when the dog finally got the tail, here we are. Well, what are we going to do? Then they're going to brag about how we're going to give that to states. Well, the states have said we actually want abortion protection. And here's like 6 ballot initiatives that have passed very strongly across, several states. So this thing about, let me just give the big elephant in the room, if you will, that supposedly people have abortions up until the 8th, 9th month, or this, I can't even believe this, post-birth abortion. Literally not a thing. Just has never happened. That would be murder. That would be infanticide. It does not happen. I don't know where people get this. I really don't. And when these politicians say something like this, and even on CNN, MSNBC, there's like no pushback on it. It's like you should stop the conversation and say that does not happen, So as far as later in term pregnancy terminations, anything after 25 or 26 weeks drops down to about 1% of pregnancies. And those are like the worst decision and the worst day of that family's life and that woman's life. And they have to make a decision because they've gotten a really bad genetics report. Maybe the child is missing a brain or a kidneys. It's actually going to put her future fertility in peril. And she has to make a decision on this. And then some of the other complaints are things like, well, why does she wait so long? Because genetic tests take a while. And you get that first genetic test. And I'm thinking of one woman's story I heard. And she goes, we were just hoping it was wrong. So we asked for another one. Well, it's like 3 weeks, Well, 3 weeks in a pregnancy is a long time, right? When you're 27, 28, 29 weeks. So you just keep hoping against hope that that genetic test is going to be done. In the meantime, you probably already know the sex of the baby. You probably already have a crib set up in a nursery. You've already got people, oh, what are you having? Oh, you look so great, And then you've got this probably unviable pregnancy that you're carrying around that you have to do something with. Now in Texas, you are required to carry that to term, So that's, and your future fertility, heck with that. That doesn't matter. So those are just some of the things that we push back and we help educate on.
I think I could say, Patrick, you can interject here in a moment. The reversing of Roe v. Wade, the line is everything has gone back to the states. Obviously,
Right.
This is a state issue right now.
Yeah.
And for those who may agree or disagree with you, you are advocating a position in a state where it's quote unquote states' rights. You are advocating for a position for a question. Am I mischaracterizing that?
Not at all. And of course, in 1992, we codified Roe v. Wade, right? And you all are probably been around long enough to remember the battle in 1992 with the Republicans filibustering that for 8.5 days.
Sharon, the battle started in 1990.
Yes, absolutely it did.
Frank Kelly lost his seat. Frank Commenda lost his seat.
Yep.
There were various senators in the state in anticipation of the 92 that on that sole issue were defeated. So it's been
because they voted against it because they were pro-life Dems essentially. John Pico. How am I saying?
Pico. So a very good friend of mine.
He's wonderful. He was at our launch, as a matter of fact, last June. And because I had heard the story from him regarding what had happened in 1991, 92, 90, actually, I guess 1990 and 91. And I said, would you please come and share that story? Because I want people to know how long ago and how long this has been going on. And you'll probably recall that President Miller said that was the last time he would ever bring anything of abortion up to the floor again, as long as he was in there. And that indeed was the case. And it was Bush, Michael Bush, Speaker Bush, who actually had wanted to bring up this constitutional amendment for about the last previous 5 to 6 years and was always told, no, we don't want to give it a lot of attention. We're safe in Maryland. Let's just leave it that way. Let's not get all the groups, wired up and everything. But then we realized what was happening to the Supreme Court, what was happening to federal officers, and just the aggressiveness of a Trump administration, that we needed to do more to make sure we were safe in Maryland and add it to our state constitution. So I love him, and we're at Mako. We always try to go to his bowling alley thing. We're a big fan of him. So
I remember in the early 90s when my father was the speaker, that was one of the few times where, as the presiding officer, he had death threats and that sort of those sort of things happened with him, and he had to have police protection for a while. So
way.
it is a controversial issue, even here in the free state of Maryland.
Absolutely. And so that's very interesting. I did not know that. And I'm glad to know that we had his support. And I will tell you, good men decades ago laid the path for us to be safe here in Maryland for women. And little did we know what the hell was going to be coming down the pipe as it did 2 years ago when Roe was reversed. So I'm incredibly grateful to President Miller and Bush and all of them for their foresight. And then, of course, we have our own legislators, Ariana Kelly and Nicole Williams and many others, who've had the foresight to make sure that when the over-the-counter pill was approved by the FDA, that we would already have the laws in Maryland to be able to put those on the shelf without any issue. And one of the, so let me back up really quick. One of the things that RJM does is access, advocacy, and accountability. Access is, of course, we want to make sure that people has access not only to abortion care, but also to birth control pill and any other kind of, care possible. To that end, we helped pass 2 bills the last 2 years. One was to require and mandate 24 access to any kind of contraceptive care, either in a clinic, on campus, any 4-year college, university campus in Maryland, associated with the University of Maryland system, of course, either through a vending machine or a 24-hour care center. Because if you're a student on one of these campuses and you have limited transportation or no transportation, and you need to get to a Planned Parenthood, it may be 40 minutes away and you're not able to do that. So these vending machines is probably how most will do this. And it has Plan B. It has over-the-counter, the O pill, and then it has condoms. I think it has some ibuprofens and some Band-Aids and stuff like that. And then this past year, we helped pass a bill that would be for the community colleges and the require vending machines on all of the community colleges. So that's the other thing we do. But back to the pill thing, we actually send people out to fill out a survey. Like if they go to their local giant grocery store or Walgreens or CVS throughout the state, are you seeing this on the shelf? Are you getting any feedback from the pharmacist about not letting you have it or anything like that? And, because there's still some pharmacists who are religious and they'll think that they don't have to dispense that, because they don't agree with it. Well, that's not the way it works, So that's an issue in other in other states and red states, by the way. So.
Well, Sharon, it sounds like you have your hands full.
Yeah, nothing to see here.
I'm sure there are groups in opposition, and you'll have plenty to do. Sessions coming up, the election's coming up. So we'd love to have you back on again, and you can talk about how things went.
We'd love to. And I do have the coalition that we've put together, a statewide coalition of over 45 groups. And this is to help organize rally around question 1. And if anybody would like to be part of that, all you need to do is email me at info@reproductivejusticemaryland.org. Maryland is all spelled out. We are not doctors. So Sharon at reproductivejusticemaryland.org. And it's a pleasure to be here. It just went too quick.
Well, it did, and we look forward to having you back on.
Absolutely. I could talk about a lot of stuff, Clayton.
I'm positive you can. Well, at the conclusion of the show, I'm afraid to say it's time to say goodbye, Patrick. Sharon?
Goodbye, Patrick.
Goodbye, Patrick. And we'll see you all later. Thank you.
Clayton, thank you so much. This was so much fun. Please have me back. I love this.
We will. Thank you, Sharon.
Bye-bye.
Talk to you soon.